The Second Amendment is not about hunting or sport shooting. It is about freedom. Our founding fathers, having just overthrown a tyrannical government, understood the importance of a well-armed citizenry. They enshrined the right to bear arms in our Constitution to ensure that the people would always have the means to defend themselves and their liberty. This right is inherent to our existence as free individuals. The Second Amendment is clear and unambiguous. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This language is not open to interpretation. It is a command, a directive that protects an individual right vital to the very survival of our nation. Background checks are a blatant violation of the Second Amendment. They create a system where the government can, at its whim, deny citizens their right to bear arms. This is unacceptable. The Second Amendment does not include provisions for government oversight or permission. It simply states that the right shall not be infringed. Background checks are an infringement, plain and simple. Imagine if the government required background checks for free speech or freedom of religion. The very idea is absurd. Yet this is precisely what is happening with the Second Amendment. The right to bear arms is no less fundamental than these other rights, and it deserves the same unwavering protection. Background checks create a dangerous precedent. They establish a framework where the government can control who has access to firearms based on arbitrary criteria. This is not how rights work. Rights are not privileges that can be granted or revoked by the state. They are inherent and inalienable. Background checks are often touted as a common-sense solution to gun violence. However, the reality is far different. These systems are riddled with inefficiencies and fail to deliver on their promises. The Government Accountability Office has repeatedly highlighted the flaws in the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, revealing a system plagued by errors, inconsistencies, and a lack of comprehensive data. One glaring issue is the lack of complete and accurate records. Many states fail to submit all relevant information to the NICS database, including criminal records, mental health adjudications, and domestic violence restraining orders. This incomplete data creates gaping holes in the system, allowing potentially dangerous individuals to slip through the cracks. Furthermore, the NICS system is notorious for its bureaucratic inefficiencies. Background checks can take days or even weeks to process, creating delays for law-abiding citizens seeking to exercise their constitutional rights. These delays can have serious consequences, particularly for individuals who need a firearm for self-defense. The background check system is plagued by false positives, ensnaring innocent citizens in bureaucratic nightmares. A simple error in data entry, a case of mistaken identity, or even a name similarity can result in a wrongful denial. These denials have real consequences, depriving individuals of their Second Amendment rights and leaving them vulnerable to criminals. The appeals process for false positives is often lengthy and arduous, requiring significant time, money, and legal expertise. Many individuals simply cannot afford to navigate this complex system, effectively stripping them of their rights without due process. The high rate of false positives underscores the inherent flaws in the background check system. It highlights the danger of relying on a fallible bureaucratic system to determine who can and cannot exercise a fundamental right. This is not justice. It is a perversion of our legal system. Section 5. Disarming the innocent. The true cost of background checks. Proponents of background checks often claim that these measures are necessary to keep guns out of the wrong hands. However, the reality is that these laws do little to stop criminals who obtain firearms through illegal channels. Instead, background checks primarily serve to disarm law-abiding citizens, leaving them vulnerable to those who would do them harm. When seconds count, the police are minutes away or hours away. In reality, the police do not have a duty to protect you. Your defense and that of your family is up to you. Background checks create unnecessary delays that can have tragic consequences. In a self-defense situation, a background check could be the difference between life and death. Furthermore, background checks create a false sense of security. They lull the public into believing that the government is effectively keeping them safe, when in reality, criminals will always find ways to obtain firearms regardless of the law. This false sense of security can lead to complacency and a decreased emphasis on personal responsibility. Section 6. Criminals don't follow laws. The entire premise behind background checks is flawed. Criminals, by their very nature, do not obey the law. They will not suddenly start following gun laws because a background check system is in place. They will continue to obtain firearms illegally through theft, black market purchases, or straw purchases. The focus on background checks diverts attention and resources away from more effective crime-fighting strategies. Instead of pouring resources into a system that primarily impacts law-abiding citizens, we should be focusing on prosecuting criminals, enforcing existing laws, and addressing the root causes of crime, such as poverty, lack of opportunity, and mental health issues. The fixation on background checks as a solution to gun violence is a dangerous distraction. It allows politicians to appear as if they are taking action, while failing to address the underlying issues that contribute to crime. This approach does nothing to make our communities safer and only serves to infringe upon the rights of responsible gun owners. Section 7. Shifting blame, endangering citizens. The push for background checks often shifts blame from the failures of the criminal justice system. Politicians target law-abiding gun owners instead of addressing the revolving door of criminal justice. Lenient sentencing and early release programs let dangerous individuals avoid serious consequences. We should demand accountability from elected officials and law enforcement agencies. Prioritize prosecuting violent criminals and invest in programs addressing crime's root causes. Section 8, the Second Amendment, a bulwark against tyranny. The Second Amendment is more than just a guarantee of individual rights. It is a bulwark against tyranny. Our founding fathers understood that a well-armed citizenry serves as a deterrent to despotism, a safeguard against government overreach. When the people are disarmed, they are at the mercy of their government. History is replete with examples of governments disarming their citizens as a prelude to tyranny. From Nazi Germany to Soviet Russia, the pattern is clear. When the government controls the means of self-defense, the people become subjects, not citizens. The Second Amendment is our insurance policy against tyranny, a guarantee that the American people will always have the means to resist oppression. It is a testament to the foresight of our founding fathers, who understood that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Section 9. Abolish background checks, restore our rights. Background checks are an affront to our Constitution, an infringement on our God-given right to self-defense. They are ineffective, inefficient, and unjustly target law-abiding citizens while doing little to stop criminals. It is time to abolish these unconstitutional measures and restore our Second Amendment rights to their rightful place. We must resist any attempt to chip away at our Second Amendment rights. We must stand firm against those who would seek to disarm us, who would leave us vulnerable to criminals and tyrants alike. The Second Amendment is not up for debate. It is the law of the land, and it must be protected at all costs. The time has come to reclaim our liberty, to restore our Second Amendment rights to their full measure. Let us abolish background checks and send a clear message. We will not be disarmed. Stay frosty, my friends. Keep your head down and your powder dry.